get to do that. All right, so it's 1 o'clock. We're going to get started, and this will be recorded and available on demand on Q's YouTube channel. So if you have to leave early, you can catch the end of the session there. And of course, those that stick around live, excited to connect with you all today. Awesome, cool. All right, everyone is coming in. So hello, everybody. My name is Michael Cohen. I'm also known as the Tech Rabbi. And we're going to understand today, hopefully together, we're going to do some brainstorming, a little collaboration between everybody that is part of this live session. We're going to focus on the power of Microsoft Teams. And one of the things that I've been really fascinated with is the power of I don't even know if integration is the right word. It's the power of how self-contained teams can be when you're trying to get work done in the classroom, work done collaboratively with colleagues. So a little bit about myself for those that don't know me, but I think many do because I put out a major push on most of my social streams for this. But either way, I'm glad to be connected. And a little bit of history in my background is education is my second career, but definitely my first love. I have a background in design and marketing and a background in technology and bringing technology into organizations to make them more effective. And this is a cool journey for me because many that know me know that I am an Apple Distinguished Educator. I'm a huge fan of Google Certified Educator. And when I partnered with Microsoft, it really was not just a goal of bringing an interesting and valuable learning experience for those that wanted to learn through the Global EdTech Academy, but also for myself. I wanted to learn not how to use Microsoft tools per se, because I think that the crossover between all the platforms, they're all trying to create presentations. They're all trying to create Word documents that have some sort of power to them. But it's the creative lens of what does it look like to create with Microsoft tools that I was really excited about. And Teams has been something that I'm been very impressed with, and I want to share a little bit about that today. But what I'm really excited is to actually hear from you. And so I want to get this show on the road and just kind of set 3 questions that hopefully by the end will have some clarity, have some insights, and be better prepared for whatever type of learning model happens in the fall. So the first is really trying to figure out ways to connect and collaborate with students on the Teams platform. Then how do we collaborate with colleagues and other classrooms? One of the things that happened when I was at the K-8 school, I was a director of EdTech for almost 6 years at a K-8 school. And there I saw a lot of really cool collaboration between classes, different grade levels. And those were some of really, I think some of the best moments of my teaching career was working with a history teacher, a colleague of mine, to figure out ways that the learning that happens in that 8th grade US history focused classroom can support the 5th grade history content that they're learning about. And we had students creating projects and gifting that content and learning with those 5th grade students. And it was an amazing opportunity. And I think that the opportunities that we have are the new opportunities to be connected. Although there are many challenges, the new opportunities through a digital or hybrid model, there's just a lot of potential. And one of the things that happened actually at the end of my school year, so I'm at a boys high school right now. I'm a director of innovation for a boys high school, and we did a like sort of a Shark Tank startup competition, and we had 3 amazing judges that if we weren't digital and if everybody wasn't so used to digital at that point in June, whether it's in education, not that we were good at it, but we were just kind of used to it, right? Both in education and in the greater business world. So these three judges, they wouldn't have been able to be judges at this event. So there are ways to get meaningful and new opportunities. So I want to look at ways that we can collaborate maybe beyond our classroom. And then how can we just create a more effective learning space with distance and hybrid learning models? And one of the things is being able to create a community, an engaged community, if we are going digital. Because what I found is, and it's kind of the opposite of what I'm doing right now, because there's context that needs to be shared, which requires me to speak a little longer than I would if this was an ongoing classroom. I think with our regular classes, after we get to know each other, after the context is laid down for whatever type of learning we're going to engage in, we have to be more effective at talking as much as not talking. And not lecturing all the way through. What are there ways for students to collaborate together, to brainstorm, to be accountable, so they don't just turn off their cameras and start playing video games instead of learning in your classroom? So what can you do to make them a participant? The next level is engagement, but at least a participant. And then if we reflect on that idea of being a participant versus being an engaged member of a classroom, what did it look like before we went digital? And what are the ways that students were not engaged, but it wasn't so obvious? Because if in the middle of class, the student just pulls out their smartphone and starts checking the latest and greatest social media, or things that are just always going to be way cooler than us. We can't pretend like we're cooler than Fortnite or we're cooler than Snapchat and TikTok. It's just not possible. But what are ways that we can create an environment where students can contribute, they're expected to contribute, and they don't know when they are going to contribute? So really looking at the way that teams can do that. So some of the ways that I wanted to just sort of set up the conversation around interactive experiences and ways that collaboration can be supported is the small group collaboration. How does that happen in teams? The ways that video integrates into the conversation. So that's something that for me was very difficult. So my school is not a Microsoft school. We use Microsoft tools, but we are a Google Apps for Education school, because the school went Google Apps, whenever, what was it, like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when that became something that was super popular and everybody was doing that. But I'm using Zoom, and we're using Google Apps for a certain type of content creation, and then we're using our LMS, which is PowerSchool, and it's like all over the place. So I'll post things in the chat and in the Zoom chat, and then they're gone, and then I won't know that a student wasn't there, or it just wasn't clear, or it got lost, whatever it is. Teams allows you to unify everything, because the video and the chat around the video are embedded inside of the platform, that you can connect to your documents as the streamlined integration of apps, not only your Office documents, but you can also connect to a bunch of other really awesome platforms that I'm sure we're all using, and if we're not, we might start using today. And then I just like that you can work inside Teams. I was polishing this slide deck in PowerPoint in Teams on the web as I was preparing for this session today. And I just love that all of that is possible. So I want to do a crash course, but I realized that one of my slides seems to have been skipped. I don't know exactly how that was skipped, but this is the slide. So before we start, I was like, in my head, I was like, where's that slide? It must be in the next slide, so I'm not going to say anything. So before we get started, I just want you to add into the chat, if you can, to both share what you teach and where you're from, because that's always cool. Are you a Microsoft school? Are you using Microsoft exclusively? And then rank your experiences and your experience and comfort with Teams from 1 to 5. Because that's going to help me gauge how in depth I go into how Teams works, because it can be confusing and a little bit overwhelming. And if I start to talk about the collaborative potential and ways that we can start brainstorming around that, and we're not even sure where certain modules are or certain tool sets and add-ons and things like that, it might be just a little bit difficult to do. So in the chat, that's kind of part of what I'd love to see. I see someone has raised their hand. Veronica, would you like to share in the chat, or would you like to share with audio? Or did you just accidentally raise your hand? Oh, hand down. All right, but let's use the chat. It kind of helps me because for where we're at right now. Awesome, thank you, Jennifer. So I'm here alone in my studio. There's a big echo. I actually have this cool sound foam actually that I need to install so that it will help with the echo. So I'm by myself, and all of your videos are off, and I get it. We're PD in our pajamas. So if you don't let me know in the chat, there's no energy, there's no chemistry. So thank you for those that are responding. We have 5th grade teacher, math and science, Microsoft School, comfort level is 4. Awesome. We have another comfort level is 4. We have non-teacher crashing the class, which is cool. Uses Teams at work. A 4 with Teams. Experience level 5. Experience level 4. We will be in Microsoft School next year. We have an English teacher. Comfort level 3. Awesome. So then we probably don't need to go too crazy into the crash course. So I'll just I'll sort of integrate that into what I want to do next, because it seems like everybody came for some deep dive stuff, which is cool. But I just wanted to first ask that, because if I started to just go super high level and then everyone was a 1 or a 2 and not a Microsoft School, that would just be kind of weird and confusing. So awesome. All right, we're going to go into the mural. All right, so I'm going to get this link right here. I'm going to paste this link into the chat, and I want you all to go to this link. I pasted a mural link, and now I'm going to share my Teams window, except not that Teams window. Too many Teams windows. All right, I'm just going to share screen too. Okay. And then real quick before we move forward, I'm just going to ask if you could just confirm 2 things. Number 1 is, did you see my slide deck before? That's number 1. And number 2, can you see the Teams right now? Can you see this Teams right now? An invalid link. That's weird. Let me try to paste it again. I pasted that link so many times that it might have messed up. So let's try this right now. Let's see if people can get into it. There's only 1 person in.
It worked for me.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I copied and pasted the link 4 times as I was preparing this, and sometimes the link gets kind of messed up. Awesome. Okay, so we got the 4 quadrants. So one of the things that I absolutely love about Teams is that integration piece. So I don't have to be in this app or that app and have all of these different things going on. And one of the really cool things is that when you go to this app area here down in the bottom of Teams, bottom left corner here, so there are just there are a lot. There are a lot of different apps. There's apps that are for education, for not, but might apply to what it is that you're doing in your classroom. But what I just absolutely love is that it can integrate one of my favorite tools, which is the this mural platform here. And so this is what I'd like to have you do. If you double click right now in the collaborating with students quadrant, okay? So I want you to double click and you can add a little post-it note. If you want to change your post-it note to a different color or a custom color because you want to have your thoughts dedicated to the color so we can see the stream of consciousness, I just want you to put a thought, a brainstorm around collaborating with students in a digital world, in a digital space. What does that look like? Or maybe not a digital space. What are ways that you collaborated with students or that students collaborated together before we went into, pandemic teaching land? And that'll just be a cool way for me to sort of set the tone and the context around what it is that we're doing. So I set one in yellow, but you could be like not yellow or whatever. And you should just know that you could accidentally delete or move. Well, you could move people's things around. That's kind of okay. But you could accidentally delete someone else's work. So you just want to sort of be a little careful. But I want to see the brainstorming because this is a way to make your classroom engaging. We're talking about collaboration. What's the purpose of collaboration? Collaboration is about being able to work together, your skills, my skills, your background, your experiences, and together we can get somewhere more significant than when we were by ourselves. That's very different than cooperative learning, right? Cooperative learning is like, hey, work with me here. And I think that if we can promote collaboration, and if all the students know that we're going to be using a brainstorming or some sort of canvas to document information, it doesn't just have to be brainstorming. It can be a guiding question, and they have to throw down their post-it note. And you never know when you're going to ask for the question to be answered. And there's actually this one here, I don't have it set up, but there's a way to actually gray out the other quadrants if you set it up the right way. And this, not that this wasn't set up the right way, but there's just a specific way to set it up. And I could do a whole session on murals, so I don't want us to be distracted on that. But you have the ability to hide the different areas. So we're working right now with collaboration with students. You don't want to overwhelm the students or distract them. So what does collaboration with students look like? And then if you click on the hand in the bottom right corner here, you can actually navigate. If you click off of it and it goes back to the cursor, that's how you know you can edit and you can add, etc. And then you can, of course, zoom in here so that you can see what people are saying. So you have project-based learning, you have breakout rooms. You have, see here, we've got someone covered someone here. Awesome. Immediate feedback. I don't want to mess anybody's up. Immediate feedback being possible. Yeah, one of the cool things, and we'll get into that in a little bit, is like what are some cool, interesting ways that we could be using some of the power of teams to communicate. And one of them that I'll share in just a few minutes, it's like it's just one of the coolest, nerdiest moments that I've just or like features that I've discovered in Teams. And it could be across Microsoft tools in general, and I'm just not familiar with it. But it's a meme maker, which is just, what more do you need? If you have a meme maker, that's really, you don't really need much else. So yeah, and if you have any questions during this session, please ask in the chat. It's, sometimes I'm moving too fast, or I said something confusing, or I said something and the screen isn't even up. So whatever it is, think, pair, share, using the private channels to break students out. Yeah, yes, awesome. Okay, so I'll let you all keep going in this, and I just want to move, sort of into this space. So as I was planning out this session, it was a little bit difficult because I can't invite you to my team and have you be part of the team. It's a little bit frustrating, and I get why Microsoft has chosen that route for security purposes, but I can invite you to a video chat as a guest, but I can't invite you to be a full participant of one of my teams. And I also can't share this because it's being recorded live. I can't share my other teams, but if you go over here to the teams, so I have hidden teams over here, and they're hidden. I can't share the content. Some of it is students having conversations and things like that. But one of the things that I have been sort of migrating over to Teams from is I was using Slack in my classroom, and I use that as a communication tool. It's similar to Teams, but I don't think it's awesome. I wish that Teams was more open so that I could use it like when I'm doing workshops and supporting students, or not students, but I'm supporting teachers. And opportunities like this, what's a better way to learn the tool than if we were all actually in the team and doing some cool things. But I just wanted to share some of the cool ways that I have seen hold on just a second, that I've seen Teams be really, really powerful. So one of the things is that you can create different channels. Of course, you have your public channels, you have your private channels. And as someone had mentioned, you could create a channel and then you could have the ability to set it private and have small groups. So it could be, I don't know, I like to pretend like I want to be super organized, but I'm not sure how it would be for me if I had a channel for every single student. I think that would be that'd be kind of a little bit overwhelming. But there are some pretty awesome ways that you can bring in that process of full areas and also be super focused. So if I'm going to talk about students collaborating and having conversations and being able to get work done. So for my creativity and business innovation course, I am going to use these different channels to focus on different areas of the class, because every group of students is going to be at a different point in the process throughout the first semester, and then as they evolve their projects in the second semester. So if I have a student who's still trying to focus on business models or methods, I don't want them to get lost in the shuffle in the conversation. If it's in the general chat, everybody's chatting about, whatever it is. I just think that it was, a nice, cool way. Kind of a nerdy, sort of technical thing is I like to number my channels so that they're in the order that I want. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like as I was creating channels in my team environment, it was setting them up in at first I thought it was like alphabetized, maybe it was like set up. I don't know. It was just I put the numbers, and so I know exactly how they're going to be set up. So one of the things that I thought was super awesome is just the power of the apps that you can bring into this space. So when you are in this environment here, you literally search. I have Trello. You have Flipgrid, you have Nearpod, you have Buncee, you have Pear Deck, right? You have all these different apps that you're able to bring in, and they're going to suggest. You have ThingLink, you have Edcast, Lucidchart, and then of course you have that you can bring in OneNote and Wiki and other things like that. Now the other space is also file management. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm using, I have my LMS, I have my cloud storage, I have my video conferencing and chatting, and it just seemed super overwhelming for me to keep track of where I was putting things and making sure that I could put things, like not everything had to be official. I feel like the LMS is official. You make it an assignment, and you assign the scope of the assignment, and that is what it is. But if I just want to send out some messages or ask a question or figure out a way for students to have conversation and support each other. So I was finding students doing that in the Zoom chat, and I would much rather have them doing it in the chat for the team video conference, because then that chat lives on. I just thought, I thought that was something that was pretty awesome for me to see. Which one? Where did I put it? It was in resources. Thought I had the Nearpod. So Nearpod, once again, and this is something, look, this is a OneNote thing. This is a Teams thing. I love the integration. Things are embedded. They're just there, and you don't have, it's like another tab, and how many tabs do you have to have open? Everything is running inside the space. So you have your Nearpod, you log in, which I'm kind of annoyed that it isn't set up. So I'll figure that out later, because that should have already been there. And I had one of my, anyway, it was a financial literacy module that was set up. It's supposed to be in the research one. All right, well, I'm gonna see if I could do this super quick. Okay, and as I said before, if you have any questions, all right, cool. So if anyone's got a keyboard stroke reader, here we go. You get the keys to the city. Yeah, I was supposed to be there. Come on. Student paste. Maybe it disappears. That'd be weird. Yeah. Anyway, so it has the Nearpod built in, and then the student just goes, maybe because I didn't move forward, it disappeared. I don't know. That could be a weird tech glitch, but I just like the fact that if I'm going to have the students go through a process, the more they can be self-contained, the more they can be in that one area, it's easier for them. The students, I teach high school, and even my freshmen in my STEAM seminar, they don't know what's flying. They don't know where's what, this and that, and every teacher has a different style. So the more integrated, the more in-house, I like that word, the more in-house you can be, the better I think it's going to be for the students and just for the whole workflow, the whole, just the effectiveness of using the platform. So if I go back to that mural, let's see how we're doing over there with the mural, because yeah. So with the breakout rooms, does Teams video have breakout rooms? Because that's like definitely a Zoom thing. Anyone will let me know in the chat. I don't recall seeing that. And I've been on a number of Teams video calls recently, and no one, I don't even see that like as an option.
No, I've never seen breakout rooms. I've just seen the channels created and then small groups or meetings, meetings put together that way. So. And
then they do the video there. Yeah, awesome, cool, thank you, good, yeah. So that's what I thought would be the way. I wish it would be a little more streamlined. So yes, I would assign, and I did this with my freshman students, is assign a group of students that pretty much stick it out throughout, at least for the pandemic. Had to move some students around just to, support, a better chemistry of collaboration, of working together. But I had them breaking out constantly into the same breakout rooms. So with Teams, if you make a channel for those, 3 or 4 students, so then they're able in that channel to set a meeting and actually video meet in the channel. So it's like a breakout channel, I guess would be the more effective way to use it, just so that we're not confusing the different platforms. So you're able to set that up that way. The other thing is the file system, right? So you can have files that relate to the different channels, but then you also have your file system over here that, this has all the files, right? Which is something that's a little overwhelming for me. I don't know what if it's like for you, but when I'm talking about, being organized, the fact that like the chats and the files all sort of like merge together, it also makes it hard to demo this, because I actually have some confidential chats right now. So it's like, oh man. So then I was like, oh, I could hide. Actually, I think I hid some of the chats. So you can actually hide you can hide chats. And actually, now I remember, I did preemptively hide some of the chats. So you could have different chats happening based on your contacts or a chat, right, where you can basically create a group, and you can also tag. I think that's super awesome and pretty effective to be able to go about that process. So the team environment, being able to set up channels, private channels, channels that are public. You can create channels that only small groups of students have access to. As I said before, I probably wouldn't go the route of like individual channels per student. That just seems like too many channels. But I think that it's it's super powerful. Oh, cool. It is here. I don't know what happened with that, but that is okay. It was kind of driving me crazy. So I had to check back in on it. Okay, so then, as I said before, the way that you can start to integrate things, I really like this bottom bar here. So when you start to add, whether it's an app, like a module, like, right, I added, I don't know what that was, added YouTube, right? Hold on, no, that's not. Oh, here. I don't know why. I searched in the team. Sorry, this is the full team search. So I added YouTube. Okay, and why did I add YouTube? So that you could search for videos versus having to once again go out and go find the videos and set it up, and copy and paste it in. So that's where that's right. Then you have the Trello, you have the mural, and you also have this meme maker, right? I don't know. I might be like either totally alone here or like nerding out and everyone can nerd out with me. But just the idea that I can create memes was just something. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone here and everyone's like, yeah, the tech rabbi's a nerd, and I'm okay with that. I feel like a meme creating superhero.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Okay, good. Thank you. Like, please, other people like memes too. I mean, we love to share them on social media, but just the idea that students could be using it as a formative assessment piece to be able to communicate information. I don't know. I just was kind of nerding out with that possibility. You also have the ability to paste in from the stream, of course, adding, and since everyone was like a 4 or a 5, I just, I'm not going to go too deep into that. But you can also find additional apps here as well. So there's like a lot of different ways or different areas that you can add an app into the environment and have that be accessible, and that's pretty great. We have a message here. Something that's useful is also create an announcement tab and mute students in that channel so your announcements don't get lost with the student chatter. Yeah, so I do announcements, yeah, sometimes in the post so you can see it, but I think a more effective workflow would just be to have that announcement place be a channel so that the students know to always check that. And I also did, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear people's feedback in the chat if they've done this before. So I had a channel, and the channel was the day, right? I did this with like I did this with a lot of stuff in Google Classroom. Oh, I didn't like that. Oh, sorry, I've got to do the dashes. Keep forgetting. And that became a channel, and you could archive them later, but they know like that's what was happening there. Maybe I would put resources there for the day, just so sometimes students would be able, if they missed a day for whatever reason, they would be able to go to that channel, go to that day and see sort of what the context were. They might not get the full context, but I would sometimes post a couple critical elements just so they know what's going on for that day so that they can get caught up. So I did that with some Google Classroom things, and then I also did that a little bit in the LMS. So I think that would be super cool. So someone said the Discovery Education tab, which I'm not familiar. So I'm going to click on it and just see what it's all about. All right, cool. So it's going to let you set the tab. It's going to let you message it, put it in messages, and it's going to, yeah, it's basically like teacher channels from Discovery. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. So now this is on the screen and in the recording. So people should check that out. So, you know, with the students, I see having the conversation, expecting the students to create content in the Teams environment, whether it's a meme or whether they need to both by the end of the class have shared a comment that's connected to the conversation or the learning that's being shared, then reply and contribute additional information based on one of the comments from one of their peers. That's been something that's been really valuable. I've seen Think, Pair, Share work quite nicely, or like Sage and Scribe, you know, kind of style, but not as much because it's like text-based. So maybe that's a bad example, but definitely the Think, Pair, Share, where they can just basically one person initiates the chat and then they just reply in line. So you have like a thread of each student pair working together, or if it's you know, a group of 3. So I think that that's something that's super awesome. As you know, as I said before, you know, with the YouTube, you know, you could just like, you know, shameless plug, I have a YouTube channel, so you can check that out. I don't know if it's going to pop up. Yeah, cool. So my videos pop up. So then you can just add in the different, like how to create a MacBook Memoji with stickers in Adobe Spark. So then that just integrates and goes right in. And then because I didn't click send before, it's going to do in line with the meme, which is also nice that you can sort of cluster. So you could have the students doing like a whole like meme, you know, like a meme flow of like 4 or 5 memes to communicate some sort of story or create that storyline. So those are some pretty awesome ways. I want to get back into the mural. And what I like about this tab here is that it's not sending me to the mural, it's sending me to the specific mural that I have attached here. And that I think is something that's helpful and nice, is that it's not just like, you know, it's not just like a tab to go to mural, but as the manager, the teacher of the classroom, I was able to, you know, set that specific. So someone mentioned having a Flipgrid tab. Yeah, I think the Flipgrid tab is awesome. Also, just having the students, you know, embed, you know, you can embed that Flipgrid grid and have that set up pretty nice. So that is, you know, with student collaboration. So getting them to collaborate with conversation, with chat, with video, with the integration where they are expected to engage and interface with the content. And you know that you can add so many different apps into the Teams environment. I think all of these are super awesome, super powerful. Students collaborating with each other, us working together with the students, just building better relationships. And I think that you know, all in all, that's super awesome. Now, what about collaborating with colleagues? So I mentioned earlier, I think that this is something that is just for me one of my favorite things to do, is just figure out ways to collaborate beyond my classroom. And I can't speak, so please share in the chat. I can't speak for everybody, but what I found when we went with remote teaching is that like there was a little bit more flexibility with time. Students, for me, like they were sticking around. There were no passing periods. So students would spend like 2 or 3 minutes after class just having conversations with me. But what I realized was it was a little bit easier to collaborate with colleagues, to be in their video classroom, having conversations with them, working together, collaborating, having students collaborate together that weren't necessarily in my class, in my classes. I can tell you that if I wasn't using other platforms and I was using Teams, when I ran the startup competition and had all, besides my entrepreneurship students, I had students that were in, like they weren't in my class and they were collaborating with me, but it was like, you know, it was between WhatsApp and and whatever cloud platform we were sharing in, and Slack, and it just became sort of this like, where is everything? Where's the conversation? And Teams solves that communication, that connection. So if you want to add in the mural on collaborating with colleagues, I'm curious to hear ways that you could imagine, and then we could have a conversation about ways that Teams can support that. Is what does collaboration with colleagues look like? Collaboration with other classrooms? How is that possible? Or what is possible? Or what have you done in the past? And then we can use it for the context of collaborating in teams. All right, so I see here we have, and if someone's blocking, you can just move around. So setting up professional learning communities, PLCs as teams, yep, super awesome way to have that set up where you could be collaborating together, creating content together, and sharing documents and kind of like offsetting that burden. It could be just brainstorming sessions, ways that you can connect with your colleagues so that you can plan more effectively. I see weekly check-in, self-care, like, yeah, hey, how are you doing? I can't tell you how interesting it has been. My school, it's not a very big school. We have 40 faculty. It's very difficult to avoid each other, let alone not really connect. But thinking back to, my own high school experience, I graduated with 950 seniors. And I know that there were teachers that did not get a chance to connect together. So just the way that this environment allows for more of a connection and the ability to work together, to brainstorm together. I'm seeing lesson planning for everyone in OneNote. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of OneNote. I did a session last week in OneNote. In my entire entrepreneurship, the curricular, the framework is in there because you can, as many, if you're a 4 or a 5 out of 5 with Teams, I'm sure with OneNote you're all awesome as well. But adding in that audio, adding in all those embedded pieces, the Microsoft Forms, adding in Flipgrid, adding in videos, and it's just, once again, it's all there. And I'm not going to pretend for a second like I am a Microsoft diehard, and I just have to be transparent. But I was looking, what is Microsoft doing that others are not? What is Microsoft doing to advance creativity, collaboration, communication? Because those are things that I'm passionate about. And I will tell you that if you look at the major tech companies right now, for those that maybe are very familiar with Google, very comfortable with Google, with Apple, this space right now of machine learning, AI, and this in-house, fully connected, integrated experience, Microsoft is winning that game 110% right now. Planning PD, coaching sessions, right? Yeah, so if you're a tech coach, this is great because you have the ability here to, set this up, to share your files and literally hop into the slide deck, right? And just start editing and start working, but I'm in Teams. And then I can set up conversations around this work that's happening, in the slide deck or whatever it is that I'm working on. Yeah, you can add comments, but have that full conversation. And then, of course, opening it into the dedicated browser. But you could literally be working on this together with other people, having conversations and improving the overall quality of it. And it just turns out that it becomes something that's just super, super rad. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to explore it more. The obstacle has just been, if you're not a Microsoft school, getting everything set up on your domain is not difficult. It's just when you're in the world of pandemic, you can't go to your director of IT and technology and say, hey, you know what? I've been in Teams now for a couple months, and now I know we need Teams because I was enjoying it when it wasn't pandemic, starting in the fall of last year all the way through till February, and we got to use it. Like, he doesn't want to hear that in March and April. He's just trying to make sure that like everyone can connect to the internet. But I've been absolutely blown away this year around the way that I have been using Teams in a collaborative environment. It's just restricted to that domain level, which is a little bit frustrating. To get the full scope of it, you can have guests come into your environment, but they can't have, especially with file sharing, it becomes a little fuzzy. But once again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I only know what I know, and I won't pretend like I know everything. But I think that these are all super awesome. Working together in a large document, doing hyperdocs with students or with colleagues, and just creating that content in Microsoft Word, in PowerPoint, being able to work inside the team, in the app, with the video opening, having the conversation. It's just, super, super duper rad. Yeah. So yeah, I think that these are all really great ideas. And then the next conversation piece in move mode that we'll get to just in a moment is collaborating with parents. So collaborating with your colleagues, you can go over here, you can set up meetings. I have meetings with, if you want to see, if your students love their work, if they're trying to book you in the summer to meet with you about the projects that they're working on. Now not everyone's going to be that excited about maybe like essay writing or something in the science classroom unless we can tie it into things that they're passionate about. And I've seen that happen a number of ways, a number of times, where students start to realize, it's not all the students, but they want to keep in touch with you. I don't know if you're open to that. Everyone has their boundaries, but I'm thrilled that my students want to hang out with me in the summer virtually. But just being able to set up that meeting and integrate, into, once again, it's totally integrated. And then that OneNote as well. I think I have the OneNote open. Yeah, so my OneNote is like this framework here that sets the tone, is all set up here, and then that integrates into the team environment, so they get access to the framework. And but I don't know where I put it. Yeah. All right, it's supposed to be right there. I don't know. Maybe I was accidentally working in a secret workspace when I added that. And then you can move these around, even, maybe that goes, I don't know where that goes in the order, but that's the Entrepreneurship 7. Once again, it's all set up here, and I don't know. I just think it's totally crazy awesome. Any questions so far? Any thoughts you can add in the chat? Pretty awesome group. I'm super grateful. These are, it's at 1 o'clock. I don't know if it's a good time for you. I don't know what time it is wherever you are in the world, but it seemed like many of you were all based in, based on the chat. East Coast, had a little bit of West Coast, some Midwest, Kansas City. So if you have any questions, I can't get my Post-it bigger. Let's fix that. So when you click on the Post-it, so there's a little teeny blue dot. And so you can just click on and drag and make the Post-it bigger. So hopefully that worked. That fixed. Okay, now collaborating with parents. So parent-teacher conferences. What an interesting experience. So we did 2 years ago. We did parent-student-teacher conferences because it sort of removes the, he said, she said, but it also gives an opportunity, I think, to be more about when all stakeholders are present. It's less about what hasn't been done, and it's more about what can be done, what can be supported. But there's ways to connect with parents. So we did the Zoom, because our school is using Zoom, but I would say it'd be way more effective in Teams, and this is why. So I'm in the Zoom, and I have my LMS open in one window, and I have my Google Drive open in a second window, and I'm like toggling, trying to keep track of and make sure that I can show the student work that we were going to focus on, and make sure the video's set up, and it's like all over the place. Here, it's like, okay, I have my files, I have my calendar, I can integrate the calendar with the video system that we were using. And I just think, like, all in all, like, connecting with parents and being able to, and it doesn't even have to be for like a parent-student conference. It could be something that's set up in a way that, it could be a little bit more frequent, of course, time permitting. You don't want to open up that can of worms where if all parents know your virtual door is always open, that could be, I think, overwhelming. IEPs, any sort of intervention, any sort of student support, being able to support the students, and maybe the technology using Teams has the ability for, some sort of support professional that might not have the ability to get to where you are, can now be part of this in a way where, like, if we're all sitting in person and then one person's on the phone, that's always awkward. So now you have this video environment. And I think even if we go hybrid, which I would say it's either hybrid or virtual, distance learning. I know there are schools that are going to go face-to-face right away because, look, how it's so important to connect with your students. We want it, but it's overwhelming. It's frightening. A lot of students, a lot of teachers are not comfortable with, we don't get hazard pay. So if we're first responders, like a nurse or a doctor or some sort of emergency professional, right? Like, but we want to see them, even if we could just be open for like a week and then go digital. You want to connect in person with your students and build that bond. But either way, I think that there are ways to connect in a virtual environment that's just totally connected with these different tools, different abilities. Of course, the assignments. I don't have my students in here, so the assignments area isn't functioning. But you have your assignments, you have your grades. It's pretty great that it's all integrated, and then you can export those grades and then upload them to your LMS, because that's usually something that's expected. To just connect in the chat, because I think I'm loving seeing all these different responses here. For younger students, I think first of all is showing them how to work Teams. Here's a quick startup guide to Teams for students and helpful for parents to support a child. Awesome. So there's a link there. There's definitely Microsoft themselves has a really great sort of breakdown of Teams that I think is pretty clear. Let's just see. I'm gonna open this up here. So that's a download for a quick start guide. Yeah, cool. I think maybe I have a different one. Nice. Oh, it's like color coded. The other one was a little bit hard to break apart the sections. Yeah, so this is super awesome. I was going to go through a similar crash course like this, but since everybody said that they were super duper comfortable, this was the one that I found. I'm not sure if this is the most recent one, but I like the colors better here because everything is broken up. Cool. Yeah, awesome. And then there's one more comment here. How can I have files in Teams so parent cannot see information on other students? So when you invite the guests to the video to the video meeting, so they don't have access to all of the files. Like right now, you're in Teams, and unless, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have access to my files right now, right? Like you can't go in here and start downloading my files.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'll just clarify, because that part might have been confusing. When I'm inviting parents, I'm not inviting them to be part of my team. I'm inviting them via video to connect and have a conversation with their child. So yeah, thank you for whoever confirmed that via audio. Appreciate that. Let me just get back into too many windows open. Okay, creating assignments and posting directly into channels allows for privacy. Class notebook. Yeah, so the class notebook, which is like the OneNote, you have like the notebooks you create, but then you have the class notebook. This is created as a PLC, so it's called the PLC notebook. You have class notebook, and then you can share different files in the different channels, and you can have the students also private messaging and submitting things in whatever workflow you establish. So that is hold on. All right. So that's sort of the rundown. We just have a couple more minutes. I want to open it up to a couple questions, and I want to finish off with two things. One is just to share a little bit more about like my work and what's going on this summer, but also to finish off, if you can go into the mural and that collaboration, beyond what we could even think about. If you would share something there, that would be super awesome. But thank you for all that participated in the mural. That was super great. So, obviously shameless plug. I wrote a book that's focused on creativity, focused on bringing out that creative confidence. I think we need them now more than ever, because creativity is not about just creating beautiful designs or creating art or music. Creativity is about the way that you think about solving problems and communicating ideas. You can express those ideas in the form of art or music, but there are other ways to do it. And I think that we have to be more courageous and more confident in our creativity as we look at the fall, as we look at ways in which we are going to be interfacing and connecting with our students and colleagues and beyond. And I also have an email list that I'm actually I'm just gonna go back here because I don't know if I mentioned, scanning this QR code gives you access to resources that I share, my weekly newsletter that I hope only brings value. I spotlight educators. I share things that I'm working on and resources that I think can be valuable for you. I try to keep it short, and I try not to overrun your email inbox because I know many of you are getting plenty of those emails already. But if you want to scan this QR code, it gives you access to those different pieces. And I'll just leave that there for a second. So I have that email list. And then I also have a Facebook community. And I'm going to paste the link to that in the chat because I'd love for you to be part of it. I've been totally blown away by the way that other educators are sharing things, right? Like, it's not the Tech Rabbi show. It's creating confidently with the Tech Rabbi, but it's not just about me. I've seen an amazing amount of contribution and questions and people supporting each other. And I even just discovered a really cool way that a teacher was managing assignments and receiving student work using Wakelet that I just was like, wow, I use Wakelet, but I didn't think of it in that way. So feel free to join that Facebook group and connect with other educators around the world. It's pretty blown away that it was literally a global group now. We have over 500 members, and we do creativity challenges each week. I do a Facebook Live each week on Wednesdays. And I just want to thank everybody for being part of this and for learning together with me, for bringing and contributing insights in the chat. And once again, just grateful to be able to connect with everybody. I want to thank you for being part of this session. There's other sessions from awesome educators, Sarah Thomas, myself, going from right to left. You have Ken Shelton, Holly Clark, and Matt Miller, and many other awesome educators. We're all sharing ways that the work that we do connects to Microsoft tools. And then I only speak for myself. I'm learning in depth more Microsoft tools than ever before because I want to be able to practice what I preach and not just showcase my my creative insight. So thank you again, and I hope to see you at another session this summer because I'm really enjoying connecting with everybody. So have a great day.